All right, we are back. Dexter, Henry, Brian Fonseca for episode 13 of the Ain't Hard to Sell podcast, and we have a special guest with us today.
They never thought we would make it this far.
Brian's been saying that every week now, but we've clearly made it this far. Our guest today is Nick Metallinos, the NBA writer, great NBA writer for ESPN Australia. He was our first international guest.
That means we made it.
Australian, born and raised. Been here in the States for some time, covering the NBA. As we get started, first of all, hi. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm good.
How's the season treating you and everything?
It's trading me. Let's just put it that way.
Keeping you busy, huh?
I mean, you guys know what the grind of the NBA season's like, so it can get a little bit tedious at times, but there's worse things we could be doing. So definitely.
Last year that wasn't the case because the Nets were the worst team in the league.
So it was the worst thing you could have been doing covering the NBA.
Lucky I wasn't.
I
wasn't just focusing on the Nets last year.
You had some diversity, so it made it better for us.
Yeah, definitely. You've got to look on the positive.
There you go. Look on the positive side. Nick, we know you're from Australia, hailing from Melbourne, and you obviously write for ESPN Australia, which has to be a great honor. Could you just tell the people a little bit about how you got your start into journalism and writing, covering sports from your country, and how that correlates with the U.S. market and the Australian market? Just tell us about that. Your story.
Yeah, absolutely. I think journalism for me started. My father was a journalist. There was a Greek newspaper back in Melbourne that he used to write for, and funnily enough, I actually do some work for them these days as well, covering the Greek players, which is pretty cool. So I guess that was always in my blood.
Yeah.
And then I just got to the point where I was actually working as a personal trainer for a little bit.
I did that too sometime.
Yeah,
It's like a journalist personal trainer connection.
I
didn't know that.
I liked you for a reason,
I didn't know that. Okay. All right. See, sometimes we journalists have to hustle in other ways.
Yes, sir.
So sometimes we have to do that. It happens.
But I was working as a personal trainer for a little bit, and it just got to the point where my heart wasn't in it. I enjoy working out. Still to this day, I love working out, but I love working out, more for myself rather than if you were to come in and ask for a tailored program. I wasn't tailoring it to people's needs because it was just generic. Like, this will work, and that doesn't work in personal training. You've got to really tailor it. So I knew my heart wasn't in it. I've always enjoyed writing. I've loved the NBA since I was 8 years old, and I just sort of decided at some point, like, this is what I want to do. So I started writing freelance. There was one basketball magazine we had at the time in Australia.
What was the name of that?
It was called Handle magazine.
Handle?
Yeah. So I reached out to the editor there, said, listen, I want to write for you guys. How do I go about it?
This was at what age?
25,
okay.
I'd say. 20, maybe 26, something like that. It was maybe about a year before the 08 Olympics.
Okay.
It was about a year before the 08 Olympics. So, he said to me, just write some articles. If they're good enough, we'll publish them. We'll start you off on the website. And if your articles are magazine worthy, then, later on we'll put them in the magazine. So I started doing that, had a few articles put out on the website. And then when it came time to have some articles come out in the magazine, I think in the upcoming issue, I was supposed to have 2 articles. And I get an email from the editor, and he's like, "Yeah, you know that email, that email."
Like, then I was like, nah, this ain't gonna be good.
He just said to me, "Look, unfortunately, we financially, we can't do this. We're losing money. We're not making money. Unfortunately, the next issue is not going to come out." So I was like, "Oh man,
You have to be really disappointed because you thought that was your shot.
Yeah, and I feel like I was like, all right, we've got to start from scratch again now. Yeah. We've already built it up to a certain point. Now we've got to start from scratch. So I actually offered to him at the time. I said, look, I'll put in some money. You put in some money. Let's do this all online because that's where it's all at the moment. Print media is
dying.
If not, it's dead. There's only a certain amount of magazines that are still moving units. So he didn't want to do that. He wanted to stick with the printing. Fair enough, that was his choice, that was his magazine. It's he was free to do whatever he wanted, but I got the idea to start my own website. And I was using that more as a tool of, I never wanted it to be like the biggest website in the world or to get 1 million
Right,
clicks a
right.
day, or, you know, if that came along with it,
Then it was great.
that was great.
Right.
But it was more of a chance of me using it as a platform to get my name out there so people can see my work. Because you go somewhere and they're like, well, where's your portfolio? Where's your work? Where have you been published?
When you have a site, you can just. That's kind of why I created Backpack Broadcasting. So we have very similar things
Yeah,
in that
you know,
way.
it's, you create your own lane. That's the way I look at it. You know,
Yeah.
you can't wait for somebody else to open up a lane for you. You got to create your own lane.
So then I guess the next question we'd want to know is how'd you get from there to ESPN Australia?
Right.
Yeah, it didn't happen overnight. I'll tell you that much.
right.
Yeah.
Because everybody thinks that. They're like, they see your name in ESPN Australia and people don't understand the journey, you know?
This, you know, my close friends, the people that have been rocking with me from the beginning, you know, they know, you know, and they respect the hustle. I was doing that website for 3 years, like in Australia, covering the local league, you know, Australian basketball from there. And what I would do was I would come to the States for like a month at a time, do some games, you know, hang around here, go to the Garden, go wherever it was, do some games, go back to Australia and go back to, you know, doing the NBL and all that sort of stuff. And it was just like every time I would come home, like I've always wanted to live in the US. You know, ever since I was a little kid, man, I've been obsessed with this country. You know, especially New York. Like I grew up a Bulls fan because of Jordan, you know, all that sort of stuff. But I did
if
respect
you're not
the Knicks.
watching,
No,
Dex
I
has
did-
the NBA Jam shirt.
I
Ewing and Josh.
And anybody can get it. Anybody wants to play in the NBA game, they can get it. You're not beating me. Like, I'll just say that right now. We'll talk about that later. But yeah,
I did respect the Knicks though. That were like, and I think that was
I
more
don't
because.
respect you for being a Bulls fan, though. No, I'm
See, we just lost our connection. We just lost our connection. We had all that in common. And now,
I can't say much because I was a baby. So
So it's okay. We understand that era.
We're old, you know. We're old.
We're seasoned, as I'd like to say.
Yes, sir.
when I was growing up, the Knicks were just awful. So
Yeah.
they had that one playoff year where the Nets swept them. In 2003, 2004. I just smiled at you, and you
And Dexy just like sips tea.
with Shandon Anderson and all that. Now we're getting
Cool.
off topic.
There's a name I hadn't heard in a while.
Really bad memories here. I'm sorry, we hijacked your story. You had this love of.
In
Come to
particular,
US.
New York.
Yeah.
Actually, in particular, New York. I grew up on New York hip hop. I grew up, you know, respecting those Knicks teams. You know, like every movie I used to watch was based out of New York. Like, you know, you used to watch like Goodfellas and stuff like that. It was all, you know, New York. So it was always this obsession with New York. I knew I wanted to come here at some point. And then just coming here, doing those games for like a month at a time, then going back to Australia, and it made me hungrier to come over here. And at one point, I was come from like 2009. I moved here in 2012. So that period, what is it, 3-4 years, whatever it may be. Sometimes I would come here twice a year, you know. And then it just got to the point where it's like, man, you know, I just need to move over there.
Right.
You just did it.
So I just did it basically, and when I came over here, and this is one thing I tell people, like I've got kids reaching out to me, you know, from back in Australia, or even some kids from over here, and they're like, man, I want to get into journalism. How do I do it? And what can I do? And the biggest piece of advice I give them is, you've got to find your niche, and you've got to be able to provide something that no one else can. All right, and because you look at it,
Time to take notes.
you look at it over here, all right, and all these kids want to write an opinion piece, and everyone wants to have an opinion, all right? But
Both just rolled our eyes.
Well, everybody wants to have an opinion, hot take show.
But
And,
you know what?
no disrespect to anybody who does it.
Yeah, but you know what? And again, I don't want to sound like I'm harsh. No one cares, all right?
I'm with you,
That's what
man.
I say
No
all
one
the
cares.
time.
I'm
No
with
one
you.
cares
When you
about.
say no disrespect, I'm like, I mean,
You know,
I mean, let's give them the straight disrespect. I'm with you.
No
now.
one cares, and that's what. If I was to write an opinion piece, which I don't do those type of, you know, pieces, but
Yeah,
if I was
that's
to
not
write,
what you do,
you
right.
could even make the argument no one cares what I have to say, right?
Right.
You know, because there's certain guys on a certain platform, right? You know, that people care what they say, right?
we're getting to where I want to go. Keep going.
They care what you want to say. But if you're just like some dude starting out and you've got an opinion, and I see these dudes on, and I know you want to talk about this a little bit later. I know you want to talk about this a little bit later.
I'm gonna get into it when you finish.
They write for a particular blog, and they're writing these 6,000 word think pieces, and I'm like, no one cares, all right? And first of all, no one's got time to read 6,000 words on the internet. You know what I mean?
Most people don't.
You know, so find something that only you can provide, and roll with that. So when I came over here, and I think even to this day, I think I'm the only Australian covering the NBA on a full-time basis. Right?
And you're here on the 800
There's,
stuff.
there's,
That's
Austra-
right.
there's, there's Australians that come here, you know, they'll come here from Australia, or there's some dudes that are, you know, that work for major outlets that are based in LA or wherever, but they're
Right.
not NBA reporters,
Right.
you know. So their outlet would send them to a game, you know, for a particular story or whatever it may be, and they're not NBA reporters, right? I'm an NBA reporter. I'm here doing that. So when outlets from Australia want something on the NBA, a lot of them come to me
Come to
because
you.
I can provide it.
He's that dude. If you want
I had an outlet reach out to me the other day, and they were like, you know, somebody gave us your details. We heard you're the man to speak to.
Right.
This is what we want. And that's because I can provide something that other people can't, you know? Like
That's a great point.
There's people in Australia that, I see it in their Twitter bio, and they're like, I cover the NBA. And I'm like, how do you cover the NBA from Sydney or from Melbourne? Or
Okay, wait.
I'll tell you
No. I want
they're
to.
frauds. They're frauds.
I want to do this now. Okay, so let me tell you about when I met Nick. I almost reversed the words. So this was at, I don't remember which Nets game. It was last month. I forget who they were playing against.
They've all blurred into
I think it
one
was
for me.
Boston. It was
Yeah.
probably Boston. So I sat next to him. We were there. It was me, you, Tom Lorenzo was there, Mike Scotto was there, whatever. And
Yeah, shout out to the Italian crew, though.
Yeah. Shout out to the Italian dude that covers the Nets. Yeah.
the mob squad.
Oh, yeah, the mob squad. I feel like we just got to go, oh, every time we...
I'm not going to say that. I'm trying to still be on the show.
So we was there, and you said, I told you were speaking my mind because you were going on a rant. I don't remember how it started. I think when I sat there, you were already going about it. But you were
Sounds
talking
about
about
right.
you were talking about guys who do that. You know, they'll blog from a certain area, and they'll live in you know, Oakland, and they'll be covering the Knicks for a website, or they'll live in New York and they'll be covering like the Miami Heat or something like that, and they'll be blogging or whatever, and some of these accounts that the people do it from, they're like verified on Twitter, so they're over here talking a bunch of nonsense and things like that. And I want to get to what you were talking about that night, but I also want to kind of open the floodgates to like, what are your thoughts on that? Because there's a lot of, I don't know if I want to say fake news out there, but you know, it's people posing as journalists who aren't real journalists, without saying many names.
Yeah, I mean, and unfortunately, that's what social media has done. It's given people a platform that they would not have had otherwise. You know, it's making it easier for people to be a journalist, because all you got to do is write an article and send it in somewhere, and you know, whether it's on, you know, a website that gets 10 views per month, or a website that gets 100,000, or whatever it may be, but if you know, you can get that published somewhere, and all of a sudden you're a journalist, or they say that they're a journalist.
Yeah.
You know, and the road to being a journalist, there's more. You know, that encompasses a whole lot more than just being able to. Yeah, and just to go to your point, the people that are like, I see people that are like, and again, I'm going to use Australia as an example because I see it a lot on you know, people's accounts from Australia where they're like, one dude was like, I'm a beat writer for the, I can't remember which team it was.
Stop it.
And I was like, I just wanted to send him the definition of a beat writer because, you know, you can't be a beat writer from Queensland, you know?
You have to be actually working the beat. Like there every day.
Yeah, that's the main thing. I
like
feel
even
that's-
I'm not a beat writer, you know what I mean?
And you're not trying to front like you are.
Yeah.
Right?
Honestly, I don't try to front like anything, you know, and that's what people say that to me a lot about my social media accounts. They're like, man, at least we know with you that what you put on there is what you're actually living and what you're actually doing. You know, I've got no reason to lie, you know, you know, I feel like everyone wants to make themselves
more important
than what they are,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and I'm not saying that I'm more important than them or I'm any more important than anybody else.
No, but
I just live my life the way it is, and what you see is what you get, basically, you know. So,
but it is true. Like, it's made it a lot easier for people to go out and claim. Because think about it, a lot of the people that you see doing that, like me, for example, like the people that I've seen doing that personally. Like, I'll go to a Nets practice or I'll go to a college basketball game and I'll go to these events and I don't see any of these people there. But we're talking about the same thing. And part of being a journalist, as you both know, is you have to go to these things and get stories and make the connections with people face to face.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, I don't want to say that this is kind of a lost art, but it's an art that is not as important as it used to be, I feel like, because of what social media has done. And I've always said that social media in like journalism or in general has been like a gift and a curse, because it's a gift in terms of like if you use it wisely, like I feel like we do, for example, you're able to put your stuff out there and you're able to get that recognition or whatever it is that you're looking to get. But if you're one of the frauds, so to speak, as you would say, Dexter,
Frauds.
then, you know, it's just easier for you to pose as one. I mean, opinion pieces are cool. Like, I've done opinion
I don't
stuff before.
dislike opinion
But
pieces.
I'm also doing that with the knowledge of what I'm talking about because I'm going there.
I think you also have to
And
know
absolutely.
your. I think you also have to know your audience too, and I think that's important in what you do in journalism. I'm sure you do, because you have to know the Australian market and the Australian audience, and the readership that comes to ESPN Australia might be a little bit different than the way people might read something here in New York, or throughout the country. So, you know, those are things you do. But talk to us. How did you get? So you came here, and before we go to break, how did you exactly get to ESPN?
Yes. So we actually went on a bit of a tangent there.
Just so people know, like, how did they get there?
Well, I wanted to get to the, you know, mess.
Yeah. So basically, when I got here, you know, I still had my website that I was writing for, and then because I was here and I could provide that something that others couldn't, I was reaching out to different websites in Australia. I said, hey guys, I can get you an interview with Andrew Bogut or Paddy Mills or, you know, whoever it may be. And then, you know, slowly I built up this sort of a base of, you know, websites that I was working for. And again, going back to that Greek newspaper as well, you know, so I was doing stuff with them. So I had like, you know, a few different outlets that I was freelancing for. But the whole time, honestly, I've got to be truthful, ESPN was my goal from the beginning. I wanted to work for them from, you know, from the outset.
How much did it help you, though, that the rise of international basketball and Australia becoming
Immensely.
basketball, like the players you mentioned, sort
Immensely.
of coming up at that time?
You know, and I'll say this about ESPN, you know, I think in the beginning they were, I don't want to say hesitant, but they didn't really understand the scope of the popularity of basketball in Australia. Like I'm talking about ESPN Australia, not ESPN. Over here.
Oh, okay.
I'm talking about ESPN Australia. They didn't. And then, you know, they started to see it, because I remember having a conversation with one of the guys, one of the editors, and he was telling me that during the NBA Finals where Dellavedova played, Bogut was on the Warriors and Dellavedova was with the Cavs.
Right,
You know, they were telling me like the numbers that, you know, they were doing, just people searching for NBA every single day was ridiculous.
Just because of even those two players.
But, I mean, Australians are going to support Australia.
Yeah,
so, you know, you've got two Australians on one of them was playing with, you know, arguably the greatest player of all time. Bogut's playing on arguably the greatest team of all time. You know, so the interest was definitely there. So, you know, that's when I think it started to turn for them, like when they started to realise it. And then the following season was actually when I started working for them, and I would, you know, send my articles through, and I would get some feedback, and they were telling me that they were doing good numbers, and obviously they enjoyed the work, you know, because I'm still there writing.
Yeah,
so.
obviously they enjoyed it. We're enjoying it.
But they told me that, you know, the numbers are doing well, and they started to see the popularity of basketball in Australia. Like if you look at all the American sports, you know, people don't really follow. There's people that follow the NFL, but it's like a niche market. Baseball, a niche market, but hardly anyone. No one
Say what you want to say.
Nobody really cares.
No one really cares. Yeah, I'll be honest. No one really cares.
Yes, right.
You know, out of all the American sports, basketball is the one.
Is the one.
And that's because it is a global sport.
It's a global
as
sport,
well.
in almost the way soccer is not to that level,
Yeah.
but almost in that way. All right, it's good stuff. When we come, we're going to take a quick break. We come back, we're going to talk to Nick a little bit more about the perception of international athletes, what he's been covering here in the NBA. Obviously, there's a lot he's covering with Ben Simmons, who's a hot Australian star here in the NBA. We'll talk about more of that when we come back on Ain't Hard to Tell podcast. It ain't hard to tell where to get the latest merchandise from Backpack Broadcasting. Gear is now available via tee.pub. Visit the Backpack Broadcasting tee.pub online store to get shirts, hoodies, mugs, and phone cases. Represent your favorite Backpack Broadcasting shows, including the Sports Walk, Sideline Stories, and of course, the Ain't Hard to Tell podcast. Check out the special offers for our podcast listeners at http://t.pub/LIC/backpack. Get in the game with your official Backpack Broadcasting gear today. What's up, listeners? You know sometimes how it can be hard just to get from point A to point B. Now, when I have to get anywhere and I don't want to deal with the hassle of public transportation, it ain't hard to tell how I get around. I always make sure to use the best car service app in the game. I'm talking about Lyft. Lyft offers rides in minutes. All you have to do is download the Lyft app, request a ride, and you will be on your way quickly. Lyft is all about happy riders and happy drivers. Take a ride with them and you'll see why 9 out of 10 rides end up with a 5-star rating. Lyft always has amazing offers for new customers, and I'm here to tell our listeners about a great offer today. Lyft is currently offering free ride credit to Ain't Hard to Tell listeners. If you are new to Lyft, then you are eligible, and getting your credit is easy. All you have to do is download the app and use the promo code AHTTPOD to unlock your free credit today. Ain't hard to tell who has the best car app service, so use the code today and ride out loud with Lyft. All right, welcome back to the Ain't Hard to Tell podcast. Dexter Henry, Brian Fonseca here, and we have our guest, Nick Metallinos, NBA writer for ESPN Australia. If you want to know about the NBA and how it's working, intertwined with Australian athletes, or American athletes, or athletes from wherever, he's your guy to come and see.
Man.
And he's not faking it. He's not a fraud.
We established that in the first segment.
He's a real journalist. Couple things.
Yeah, my bank, I'm broke, so I'm definitely a real journalist.
Well, that's a whole nother subject to that too. Yeah, you ain't gonna always have that money. It's not as glamorous as something.
No, it definitely is not.
Getting a couple NBA things. I over the last couple of years, I've watched the perception when it comes to draft time with international players. And I've seen a lot of people be very skeptical of their teams drafting international players. I'm a Knicks fan, for those who can't tell. And the Knicks, a couple years ago when they were going to draft Porzingis, I watched a lot of his videos of Draft Express. I was very high on him. I thought he could be a good player. The Knicks, again, this year take a kid from France, Frank Ntilikina. I was very high on him, too. I think he's going to be a very good player. But I tend to see in the media and also from other fans, oh, I don't know about this guy. He's going to pan out. Who is this guy? Why did we take him? What's going on here? It seems to always be this need to want to take the American player. I'm also intrigued. I'm going to toss it to you, too. I'm very intrigued to see what happens with Luka Doncic this year, Croatian player who I think is fantastic.
He thinks he should be the top pick in the draft.
I do think he should be the top pick in the draft. I think somebody's going to mess up and not take him. He's going to drop the 3, and they're going to regret that he didn't take him.
There's your hot take for today.
You're obviously from Australia, and there's been great Australian players who come on the scene. Why do you think there's this perception here in the States of international players almost that they can't play in the league, or they're not going to be tough enough, or they're not going to make it? There's this skepticism to pick them. Why do you think that is?
I think that whole tough enough thing is that's been going on for years, man. Like if you look 20 years ago, it's always the soft Europe. And maybe it was sort of applicable back then because certain guys came over.
Darko Milicic.
That could have been applicable. I don't think it's
Frederick
applicable
Rice,
anymore.
too.
I agree. I think it's
not
applicable.
anymore, But I think a lot of it has to do with they don't get to see these players. It's only hardcore fans. Like I don't watch EuroLeague, and I'm involved with the NBA, day in and day out. I don't watch EuroLeague. So you're talking about, I've heard that name, Luka.
I watched a little bit of it.
I've heard that name, Luka Doncic, and everyone keeps saying that he's going to be good, but I don't know because I don't watch EuroLeague, and that could be the reason why, because people just don't get to see these guys unless you're a hardcore NBA fan or a hardcore basketball fan and you're watching EuroLeague and you're watching these sorts of things. So then you go back to that old cliche of, the Europeans, they're soft or they're this and they're that, versus an American player who you might have seen play in college night in and night out for however many months.
My thing, and I know Brian has something to say, but my thing is that, and I get it, I don't expect somebody to maybe be like me and watch a little bit of EuroLeague or Eurobasket as I watched this summer. I was very into watching that this summer. I'm a basketball junkie.
Right.
But there's Draft Express, and when draft time comes and you want to see these players, you can go pull up a video and see these guys. And you might not get the whole story of what they are as a player, but you can tell a little bit, see their feel for the game. I tend to think the fans and sometimes even some media members are a little bit lazy in not wanting to take a little extra time and
That's what I was going to say.
Just look at this play. Look at this 8-minute Draft Express tape. If you say you want to know about the NBA, but then when the player is about to get drafted, don't tell me, as a lot of Knicks fans.
That's what I was going to say.
Porzingis, he's
back
not
to our fraud discussion earlier.
But the Knicks fans think no one's ever going to make it.
Well, you're right. Most Knicks fans,
that's the
irrational.
Well, they've been burned a lot. They've,
they're an abused
Michael
fan base.
Sweetney and Frederick Rice happened. You know, so Ronaldo Ballman, you know what I mean? Who's the best player in my country of Puerto Rico right now? I think he's like the best player in that league.
Puerto
Shout out to
Rico.
Bobby
Anyway.
Bachman, still playing.
Yeah, still playing.
Didn't
Yeah.
he choke a dude out in Indonesia or something? Was that him or was that, I'm thinking
I don't know.
somebody
I
else?
hope he did, because that sounds like a great story.
What, you said he tried to choke a dude out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you're thinking about Anthony Randolph.
That was
Oh,
him?
close enough.
I think he
was
did
also a
something-
Nick that was
he almost
a
got in a fight. Yeah. Close enough. Close, say- yeah, whatever.
You know, I will say this though.
Yeah.
I remember when Giannis Antetokounmpo was drafted.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh.
And I'd sort of heard his name bubbling a little bit.
Okay.
But he was coming from second division in Greece.
Second division he played,
Second
yes.
division. Now I know what the second division in Greece is like. You know, and the quality is not the best. And I'd seen some highlights, and the kid looked good. But you're like, hey, he's playing against second division dudes in Greece. You know.
But almost
Like-
every scout thought he was raw. Nobody was very high on him.
And even his first year in the NBA, I was like, I think he's going to be a good player. But I didn't. He's legit. I think this guy's going to be the best player in the league within the next 2 years.
Yeah.
You know, and I would never have predicted that.
There you go.
You know.
There you go. That's a great point to that because Nick is 100% right. He was playing second division in Greece. His name was bubbling a little bit. Nobody really knew about this kid, and scouts were saying, no.
Wasn't Porzingis somebody who caught on kind of late also? Because it's not like the entire season.
He did. He was playing for a bad team in the ACB.
Yeah.
He wasn't playing for like a top flight
Yeah.
team. But what I looked is what I saw his efficiency in the minutes he played. That's what I liked
Yeah.
about him.
Both
He
of them
moved
are
well
having a
without the
similar
ball.
rise also.
Yeah.
Like
it shows that.
international player.
I think what Nick is trying to say too is a lot of people act like they know all this stuff, but it's kind of a crapshoot sometimes,
That's
right?
the theme of the show today.
Yeah. A lot of people act like they know.
They act like that. And you know what? Especially with drafting, not just international guys, but
Yeah.
American guys, they draft these kids based on potential. Okay. So
Yeah.
for me, I don't watch college ball either. I want to be completely. I don't like college ball. Okay. So when draft time comes around, people are like, "Well, who do you think?" And I'm like, "You know what? I don't care what he did in college. I'm going to judge him on what he does in the NBA." Because you see a lot of these kids that projected highly, and because they had a great college career,
Yeah.
but then they come to the NBA and they're
game is
11th, nothing.
Yep.
They're 10th man on the bench, or they're out of the league within a year or two, or whatever it is. So I don't care what you did in college. I don't care what you did internationally. I'm going to judge you on what you do in the NBA.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I think that's very fair. Go ahead, Brian.
So, analytics.
My favorite topic.
The other part of that rant that I mentioned in the first segment. So, and this has been a hot thing, especially in the NBA. Analytics, are we using too much of it? Are we not using enough? Like there's kind of like a war now in terms of like there's a section of people who think that the way to judge players is strictly numbers based and not necessarily, you know, anything beyond what you see as far as what the data provides you. On the other side, you have people who, you know, at the end of the day, it's all about the eye test. And there's actually something similar where, and I cover boxing, as you know, but people, you know, judging a fight based on punch stats versus judging a fight with your eyes. Now, I'm one of the people who judges a fight with my eyes. Because punch stats, it's like, it could be inaccurate. Somebody throws a 5-punch combo, you might not even see all 5 punches land. So, full
Right.
circle to the NBA discussion. What are your thoughts on analytics? Are we overusing it? Like, in that case,
I think there's a certain group of people that are overusing it. I think analytics, I think you'd be a fool to discard what analytics has done and what it can do. But I think a lot of people put an over-reliance on it. Like, you need a balance between eye test and data.
I agree.
I agree with that.
You need,
yes.
because you need to back, like if you see something, you need to be able to back it up with evidence. All right, you know
Yep.
what, this is what is happening,
Yeah.
and this is that. But then you start getting to some, you know, what I don't like about it and what I rant and what you heard that day was.
And what I agreed with, by the way.
You know, when you say something, and this is one of the things what I don't like about social media, where you say something and there's the well actually crowd. You know, there's the well actually crowd.
Twitter,
And-
Twitter,
and,
man.
And it's, you know, it's all the numbers geeks that are always like, you know, I call them VORP Twitter, right?
I like that.
That's what I call the analytics crowd. I call them VORP Twitter. First of all, I saw one dude, I can't remember who the player was, but he was trying to say that this player was not a good player because of his VORP numbers. I don't even know what the hell VORP is, right? But seriously,
You tell me.
You know, I mean, like he's like, well, actually, his VORP numbers are, you know, and I was like, he's in the 95th, you know.
Value over replacement player.
Yeah, but
Okay, that's what I thought, but I wasn't sure exactly. That's valuable.
but honestly, who cares? It's,
Yeah.
You know, like I guarantee.
Who's the replacement player?
I guarantee if you go ask any
I'll explain
NBA
that
player
second.
about VORP,
I'm just playing dumb.
Yeah, all right.
ask any NBA player about VORP or what their VORP is, and I'll tell you right now they don't know, and they don't care.
They know their 2K rating before they know
Yeah,
their
they
4. I
will.
guarantee you that.
You know?
Those are analytics that they trust.
Yeah, so hey, I trust those as well.
I
Hey.
do too. Sometimes. Depends.
I'm not. I'm not.
Except when they didn't give Giannis a 98 or.
Oh, wow.
What did he get this year?
We could look that up.
I'll check. Yeah, I'll check too. I'm with you, Nick. I think that you have to have a balance, and I think Brian's analogy to boxing is spot on, because I like to watch boxing the same way. The numbers are cool, but at some point you also have to go with what you see, and sometimes I don't even need to see the numbers to know what somebody can or really can't do.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Like if a guy can't shoot, like I don't even need to see Lonzo Ball's numbers to know that he's not hitting a shot from outside. I watched a ton of Laker games. I was actually surprised his numbers were where they were. I thought it was worse. I thought 3-point percentage was worse than what it was.
What's his VORP though?
Don't know, don't know, don't care.
Or his war.
Or his war. Right,
What is that? What is that?
Wins above replacement.
Wins above replacement.
That's mostly a baseball
That's mostly a baseball
thing.
thing.
Baseball's, I don't want to go on that tangent.
But nobody in Australia cares, so we're not going to talk about
Yeah, right.
So we're not going to. Not that I dislike baseball, because I like baseball. Even though
I'm curious to find out what my journalism VORP is actually.
Right. Can we have a
analytics people,
journalist?
yeah.
Because I think there's some journalists that need to be replaced, but that's a whole other thing. That's
If we can get some numbers, people to figure out my journalism VORP, I'd be really grateful.
See, and that's the thing. You have people who comment on numbers, and we've talked about this before in this podcast, but there's no accountability for them in their job and what they do. They're so critical of athletes and what they do, right? And we're fine. You can criticize people, but it's like, when do you get criticism for
We
your job?
talked about this last episode.
And most people, they're held accountable to their job. And one thing I don't like in journalism, I've spoken about this before, is that when journalists do a bad job, when their sources are incorrect, when they steal other people's stuff, you know what? I think it's responsibility of other journalists to call those journalists out.
Yeah.
Maybe not necessarily by name, you don't have to embarrass them, or maybe we should. Maybe we're not doing a good enough job of that.
Well, this happened with that.
But we're talking
that
about
happened
it.
in the
We're-
Hamidou Diallo thing.
And we know we're talking about this. And we had Ian Begley on here. He spoke about that. He actually brought
He's
up
actually
that.
one of the
brought it
best
up.
in the business too. You know?
He is,
Yeah.
and
He
he spoke about that here on this podcast. He spoke about that to us personally, and he's just a very big believer in giving people their credit and doing a good job as a journalist.
Yeah.
And that's why guys like you and him, I think, are great journalists and doing a great job.
And look, people make mistakes. You know,
It
something-
happens.
Oh,
it happens. You know, so
absolutely.
it's not bad that you've made a mistake.
Yeah.
You know, but like you said, then if you're stealing work and you're doing
Oh.
like for example that whole Giannis Antetokounmpo where he was a sneaker free agent this past summer.
Yes.
And I had a very good source tell me that he was close to signing with Adidas, or as you Americans say, Adidas. And that turned out to be wrong. But at the time, and I trust this person that told me, who was certain that he was going to sign with Adidas, I tweeted it out. And I didn't tweet it out with certainty, though. I just said, I'm hearing that he's signing.
Like you're supposed to.
Yeah. But, he ended up signing with Nike. That happens.
And the Twitter vultures came for you, didn't they?
No, they didn't,
Oh,
actually.
they didn't?
Yeah.
Twitter was some
Maybe I just
decorum.
don't have people are just not paying attention to my tweets, maybe, So,
Yeah.
but it happens, people make mistakes. So I get that. I'm not going to criticize somebody for making a mistake.
Right.
But when you start compounding in all those other things, then
Yeah.
I want to talk to you about some thoughts on some other players in the NBA before we get into. Ben Simmons obviously looks like the leading candidate
GOAT.
for Rookie of the
The
Year.
GOAT.
The GOAT out of
GOAT.
Australia. You
Yes.
can call him that
Is he
already.
the best rookie since LeBron?
yes,
Is he the best? He's the best Australian ever.
yes.
How?
My answer's going to be yes.
I'm like,
We can end the show right now.
Does he like
We can end the
cheeseburgers?
segment right now. Yes.
How is the craze or buzz for him back home for you in Australia, that you've seen, or the response you've seen for fans and what you've written about him? I know you've been covering a lot on him. You'll be down in Philly later this week. What's that been like? What's the buzz like back in Australia?
We've never had. So Andrew Bogut was our first ever top overall pick.
Pick,
Number
yes.
one
Right.
pick in 2005, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. The Chris
Shout
Paul
out,
draft.
yeah. But you know, Bogut, as a great contributor as he was early before those injuries when he was at Milwaukee, you know, and guys like Patty Mills and great players. But we're talking about Ben Simmons is a legitimate superstar, and he's the first ever superstar that Australia's had for basketball.
Right.
So you know, this is somebody that like the whole country is getting behind right now, and there's an insatiable for Ben Simmons stuff. Like people can't get enough of it. You know, and the thing is, he's only played 24 games, and his story's already been told so many times, and it's like we're getting to the point now where it's like, what else can we say? What else can we, you know?
Well, you got to wait for him to create more moments, right?
We do.
Getting to the playoffs and doing that kind of thing.
It looks like he is creating those moments. You know, putting up some great. What is he averaging? You know, 16, 8, and 7. Something along those lines.
Yeah.
You know, so it's those numbers are just incredible. You know, another triple-double the other night. I think he's going to be, with this change to the All-Star format, he could even be an All-Star this year.
Yeah.
I think it'd be hard not to maybe take him and Embiid.
But back to our earlier point, even beyond the analytics, you could just see like the eye test. Like
This kid's special.
a 6'10", 6'11", could play all positions, but you know.
If his shot develops, he's gonna be scary.
Oh, then he could be up there with
good.
you know, Giannis, as you said. If
He's gonna
Giannis
be-
becomes the best player
And everyone
in the
talks
league.
about that, about, you know, if his shot develops, if his shot...
Yeah.
I think that, look, I think his shot will develop. But let's just say, hypothetically, it doesn't.
Like Rondo.
He affects the game in so many different ways
yeah.
that I don't think it's going to be too much of an issue.
Yeah. Did you see what he did to New Orleans the other night?
Yeah.
Like he's just effortlessly, like he'll do a crossover, spin move.
He can
he'll
finish
kinda
well. He
get
can find
in.
guys.
He gets up
It's
like
just his
nothing.
basketball IQ is so far ahead of his age.
Yeah.
You know?
That's a great point there. Our producer Matthew Feniza is a Jazz fan, so I have to ask you. Ben Simmons is like the most exciting player, if you want to say, that's come out of Australia. Is Dante Exum the most disappointing player that's come out of Australia because of the injuries that he's had?
No, I don't think so. Look,
Because I was high on him.
he's one of those players though. So guys like Exum and Simmons, they started sort of bubbling after I left Australia. Right, so I was aware of them, but I didn't really have any sort of close, not just relationship, but you know, I'd never seen them play firsthand. Exum came over here, the mystery man. You know, I still think he is a mystery man because we still don't know what he can do.
Because he's just had enough time on the
Yeah, he
court.
hasn't had enough time. He's going to miss his second full season in 3 years.
Yeah, he also came up really quickly right before he got drafted.
Yeah, look, he looked good in summer league and he looked good in
did.
preseason.
He
He showed
did.
glimpses of what he's capable of.
Yeah.
I still think he's going to be a good NBA player. He's not going to be a Ben Simmons. Let's, you know.
Yeah.
Right, but you think he could be a good NBA
I think he's
player?
going to be. Look, he's still young, man. He's 21 years old. You know, he's
That's
20.
crazy.
He's 21.
I feel like
he came out of here straight out. He came here straight out of high school. He didn't go to
Right,
college.
he didn't go to
so
college.
my thing was for him initially when he came over. I said we haven't seen him play against American competition. There's a difference between playing high school basketball in Australia and playing against American college.
Yeah.
You know, he played. I think what's that Nike exhibition in Portland? The Rose.
I'm forgetting the invitational that they have. up there. But it's big for a lot of international guys to come there and play.
That's an exhibition though. So you know you can't really.
It's not the same thing.
It's not the same thing. So we never saw him play. I always said when he was drafted, it's going to take him time to adapt to the American game. You know, the injuries haven't helped because it sort of set him back.
Yep.
But again, he's 21. You know, so I think give him some time. I think he'll be fine.
I wonder if the Jazz will be patient with him. Just a couple other quick thoughts. Teammate of Ben Simmons, former teammate now, Jahlil Okafor traded to Brooklyn recently. Did you like that trade for the Nets? What do you think? We talked about this on our last podcast. What do you think of it?
I think it's good for Jahlil to get out of Philadelphia.
He's free.
He's free. Free Jahlil. You know, look, I've liked what Sean Marks has done with the Brooklyn Nets. You know, he came into a pretty bad situation.
The worst in the league.
Yeah,
Oh, it's bad.
You know, so I like the moves he's made. It's going to be a slow process over there, but I got faith in him. I mean, look where he's coming from. He's coming from the San Antonio Spurs. So there's one thing they know how to do is build a team. You know, with you know, I don't want to say people that have been discarded, but they know how to pick players, and I've liked what he's done so far. So I've got faith in Sean Marks to turn that around for.
Okay, so you like that one.
Yeah.
Knicks, and you sort of a little talked about the Nets. You like the direction you're headed. What are your thoughts on the Knicks this season? Don't hate, man. Give them some love.
Nah, hate.
I would love to hate, but I can't.
You should.
Are you shocked? Are you shocked? Would you put them as one of the biggest surprises this season?
Yes. Hell
That's the other thing. Give me this before we go to break. Biggest surprise, You're shocked with the Knicks, but biggest surprise, biggest disappointment in the NBA thus far this season?
Ooh, good question. I don't know if we're going to have time before the break.
We can come back. We can come with it after.
Come back to that one. Let's come
all right,
back to that one.
All right, we'll give Nick some time to think about that one. He's not hating on the Knicks, which is good from an old Bulls fan, because we used to have a lot of wars back in the day. But we'll come back. We'll talk a little bit more about biggest NBA surprise and disappointments. Nick is a huge sneakerhead, so we'll talk to him about sneaker collections, and we'll talk to him about something he doesn't like when he's riding the MTA subway. All that to come on the Ain't Hard to Tell podcast.
Guru is the place where fans talk about sports via video. All videos are 60 seconds or shorter. Sports Guru makes the video look more professional and fun by adding automated on-screen graphics. You can follow your favorite sports by team, trending, new, or by people you follow, and more. Type in the title of your video and it will auto-magically go into your on-screen graphics. It's just that simple. Tag your teams and publish sports. Let's talk sports.
The best new sports web series is here. It's from Backpack Broadcasting, and it's called The Sports Walk. The Sports Walk is a series where diverse sports fans take a walk and share their views at the intersection of sports and society. The entire first season is now available on Backpack Broadcasting's YouTube channel and backpackbroadcasting.com. See what other sports fans have to say about a variety of issues in the world of sports. Watch all 13 episodes from season 1 and take the Sports Walk today. All right, welcome back. Ain't a Hard to Tell podcast. Ain't hard to tell, not ain't too hard to tell. We should just add that.
I laughed
It
way
ain't
too hard.
to
I
tell.
laughed way too hard.
You always laugh way too hard.
That wasn't Nas's song. He didn't call the song "Ain't Too Hard to Tell."
No,
That's not
he
how
didn't.
he ended Illmatic.
Sorry, Nas, but that's what happens when you don't give us the album that you said you were going to. Things start to get messed up. I start doing Nostradamus-like things on the show. Anyway, before the break, we talked to our guest, Nick Metallinos, NBA writer for ESPN Australia. We were asking about the NBA biggest surprises and disappointments of the season. Brian, I want to hear your thoughts on this too. What is it so far for you? Which teams have really surprised you? What's been your biggest surprise and biggest disappointment thus far in the NBA season?
Biggest surprise, I'm going to go with Philly.
Philly.
Because I remember I was in Philly for Media Day, and I was catching an Uber back into town to catch a train back to New York, and the cab driver was, talking about sports, and he's like, man, because this Philly team, he's like, there's no reason why they shouldn't win 50 games. And I was sitting in the back
50?
Yeah, and I was sitting in the back of the Uber, and I was like, fam, you got to pull up a little bit.
Yeah, you got to calm it down.
Yeah, you got to calm it down. But you look at them now. I think they're 13-13 now. Let's have a look at the standings.
No, are they better? They're better than 500.
They are
13-13. So they're
They're 13.
500.
Okay.
Tied with your Knicks
They are.
for the 8th spot.
Another surprise.
In which the Knicks are going to fall out soon.
Yeah, I think the Knicks are going to fall out. I think they're going to fall out.
I mean, I know a tough stretch is probably going to come. I think the Knicks are going to hang around 500 the whole year. I'll say that. I haven't said that. I haven't gave my quarter part of the season. I think the Knicks are going to be somewhere deviating 3 games under 500, if it, at the best 3 games over 500. I think they're about a 500 team. If they won 37 games, 38 games, wouldn't shock me.
I'm only having fun because I don't root for any team.
But they probably will. They probably will fall
Or
out.
as you say, I root for Freddie Gibbs.
Well,
So,
that
there's
we
also
know.
that.
That's all another thing. Anyway, sorry. Back to your point. You like the Sixers are big.
I do. I think they've played a whole lot better, a lot faster than I expected them to. I didn't think they were going to be bad. They obviously weren't going to be the process Sixers this season. But I didn't look. I mean, 13-13. We're 25, 26 games in.
Yep.
There's no reason why they can't go at least 41-41.
I think they could be better than that.
Yeah, but I'm saying
think
I feel like that's their absolute minimum threshold.
I agree with
If
that.
they stay healthy, then
Yeah.
45-ish.
I can see one at 45 to 47.
Yeah.
I can see that. 50, I'm not going to go there yet.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to go there.
No
yet.
disrespect to that Uber driver. I mean, you guys need that.
I'll tell you what, if they end up getting 50 wins, he's going to look like a genius.
He is. He's going to be like, I told that dude
I'm
from
gonna,
ESPN
I'm
Australia.
going to have to go through my trips list and just find him and be
Find
like,
him.
hey man, you were right.
Yeah.
5-star rating for you.
He's like, he'd be like, yo, how about that extra tip? He'd be like, how about that extra tip?
Can I add a tip now?
What was your NBA surprise? I want to hear that. 'Cause mine is Tyreek Evans.
My NBA surprise this year probably has to be, I would say, Detroit. I'm going to go with Detroit in the East. They got off to a pretty good start.
14-12, yeah.
And they've been playing some decent basketball. I think surprising. They're starting to figure some things out with some guys around there. That doesn't mean I believe in them. I believe in the Sixers more than I believe in Detroit. I'm just surprised by where they are. And then I probably have to say the Knicks because I thought the Knicks were going to be awful this year.
I thought the Knicks were going to be
would have about 3 wins.
where Charlotte and Atlanta is.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I thought Charlotte would be a lot better than they are right now.
Yeah. I thought the
Kevin's
Knicks
playing great, and
Shout out to the
that's
BX.
it. It's like, yeah.
But
he's one of my favorite.
So
players.
those are my surprise. I'm very surprised with what the Knicks
Mine
are
is
doing.
Tyreek Evans.
Bout?
Man. Like,
It's Tyreek Evans?
he's having all of a sudden, like last year he had like probably, I would say his worst or one of his worst seasons in the NBA. And now he's back to playing like he was as a rookie, where he was like one of the only rookies ever to average 25 and 5.
Yep. He's also playing with nobody in Sacramento, but yeah, still.
Sacramento.
It's still that. Disappointment.
Yeah.
I was going to say Milwaukee, only
that's an interesting one.
because they did go through a little bit of a rough patch. They've turned it around a little bit
But
now.
after getting Bledsoe. Yeah.
You know, they're still in the top 4 in the East, which is good. But I've got such high hopes for them, just on the fact of how great Giannis is playing. I think they could, I don't think they will, but they definitely could make the Eastern Conference Finals if things go their way.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
That'd be a big
I
year
still
for
think
them.
it's going to be a Cavs-Boston thing, but you never know. If injuries happen, knock on wood, I don't wish injuries on anybody, but you never know. If somebody gets injured, it could open up for them to make the Eastern Conference Finals. But I'm going to go with actually OKC.
Yes, I agree. I'm with
I'm
you
going
on
to go
that.
with OKC.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they should be a whole lot better than what they are.
Brian's gonna say he doesn't buy it because he thought they would struggle. You thought it was gonna take them a while to figure things out.
Who?
You.
Who?
The OKC.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, you're not paying attention? You not know who
I
we're
was like,
talking
no. I didn't know if you were talking about Milwaukee.
Yeah.
I was like, wait.
No. Well, yeah, you said this at the beginning of the year. You thought OKC would take some time to figure it out. So maybe you're not as surprised.
No, my biggest disappointment is Patrick Beverly being out for the season because he's one of my favorite players to watch. Don't smile at me like that.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
Patrick Beverly being out for the season is my biggest disappointment, man.
Okay, at least.
Feel better, man.
Hopefully-
I want to see him back next year and locking people up like Lonzo Ball and pushing him at half court. That was pretty fun to watch.
Yeah, we got to see that. All right. Enough with disappointments and surprises. You are a big sneakerhead, and I found this out I think a bunch of times I would see you at games, whether it was Knicks games, and you always had something you do. I'm like, this guy has like a
You would
million
look down and be
sneakers.
like, what
I'm
are
like, yo, what are those? Oh, you got
But
these
in a
LeBrons,
good
you
way,
got-
what are
in a
those?
good way.
What are those?
Yeah, because you can look at somebody's feet like, yo, what are those? Like, what does he have on? But in a good way. So I know you're a collector. What got you into, being, I don't know if I should label you a sneakerhead, but what got you into being a sneaker collector, and what do you like about it, and how
I've always
deep
liked
are you
kicks,
with
man.
it?
I've always liked the first kicks I ever remember that I was like, I need to have those. Was the Air Jordan 4 white cement ones when they first came out. And I remember back then, back in Australia now, see we're talking 89, 90, because I like the Jordan 5s as well.
Mm-hmm.
But, we used to have family that would go to Greece, every year and stuff like that. And I said to my mum, I want these shoes. And she was like, oh, we'll get somebody to bring them back from Greece. And I remember thinking at the time, like, why would Greece have them? Why is Greece going to have these shoes? And long story short, I never got the Air Jordan 4s.
Aw.
And I remember when the Air Jordan 5s came out, the black metallic ones with the silver toe.
Yeah.
And I wanted a pair of those. And we went to the store, and I will never forget this. And they were something like, we're talking early 90s, they were like $200 and something back then, which that's like $450 now, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That was a lot of money back then. Mm-hmm. And my dad didn't want to pay it because they were, like I said, I think they were like $230 or somewhere in that range. And what did he end up buying me?
Oh no, this is gonna be bad. I know it's gonna be bad.
He ended up buying, I can't complain because that would.
Oh, I thought he got you like some knockoffs.
No.
Oh, okay.
He got
some Shaqs.
He got me. Remember those first Reebok pumps?
The pumps? Oh, no.
They came up to like your knees. You know what I
but
mean?
the pumps were fly though.
Yeah, but the thing that got me was like they were only like $30 cheaper. Right, so
Dad, come
so
on.
for $30, I could have had the Air Jordan 5s and
Mr. Metallinos, if your dad was here, I'd be like, Dad, the $30 difference.
it scarred
Your son
me.
could have had a little bit more credibility in school with the Jordans.
It scarred
and
me.
he had the pumps.
But I will say this:
Yeah.
shout out to my mum. Like we couldn't afford, I was raised by a single mother, so we couldn't afford to have like, you know, brand new shoes every month. We used to have like one pair of shoes for the year or whatever it may
You
be.
made it work, right?
But you know what? That pair of shoes, my first ever pair of Jordans ended up being the Jordan 7s when I was in like 6th grade or something like that. But she always made sure that I had something, not necessarily a Jordan, but I had some Nikes, you know, Hirachis or I had something, man. But once I got older and got my own money, I was like,
I'm buying all the sneakers
I'm
I
buying
want
everything.
now.
I'm buying everything.
Everything. Do you have everything?
I downsized my collection.
Sold them on eBay?
So I had, between Australia and America, I had about 130 pairs.
Cool. Not even close. I'm not even in that realm.
I don't even have double-digit pairs in my rotation.
I donated probably about close to 40 pairs to some.
Oh, you donated?
To some homeless shelters.
Very nice, man.
Oh, nice.
Very nice.
I donated some. I sold a lot. I gave away like 10 pairs to friends and family. Stuff that I knew I could get some decent money for. Obviously, I sold it.
You said you love the 4s. Are those your favorite kicks ever, or do you have something else?
I'm going to say yeah, just because of the nostalgia.
Nostalgia of
involved.
it.
Yeah. You know, I had a pair because Jordan Brand, as you know, they moved away from the Nike sort of, they became their own brand, so they had their own Jordan Brand logos on it. So I had the 4s with the Jordan Brand logo, and then 2016 they re-released them with the Nike Air, and they sold out, so I didn't actually manage to get a pair, but I did get rid of my original, the Jordan branded pair of ones that I had, but I do want to cop the ones with the Nike Air on the back and with the metallic 5s as well, just because the nostalgia is there for me. For those stuff.
Do you subscribe to one brand of sneaker, or do you kind of like, you see some hot Adidas or Adidas, like you'll buy those too or whatever?
I'm gonna get in trouble here.
Oh, man. Probably not for me. I think I might know where you're going.
I pretty much only wear Nike.
Hey.
Yeah, but you know what? So do I too. But because to me at least, Nike's.
But I can appreciate, like I see some of the stuff that Adidas is doing, and I'm like, that's a dope shoe.
Yeah.
It's just not something that I would wear.
It's not his blood. Can't do
see?
it. I get it.
To me,
I do get
Nikes
it.
look the best with jeans.
I agree.
Like that's how I look at
I
it.
don't
Like,
the best with anything.
yeah,
I'm very partial to Nike. Not that I haven't worn other sneakers.
I mean,
but
I have in the past.
I'm really trying to remember the last time I bought another pair of sneakers that weren't Nike.
That's what I'm saying. But if Under Armour wants to sponsor the show,
But you know,
no doubt.
but you know, I deal with a lot of the sneaker companies, and you know, they send me some stuff, and you know, I've done performance reviews, and I can honestly say I do an unbiased performance review.
Right.
You know, I've played in some Adidas sneakers that were great, and all that sort of stuff. They're just not shoes that I would wear personally.
Right.
You know.
I get it.
Right.
And I think a lot of that has to do. Look, even as a kid, you know, I wore certain other brands, but the majority of the shoes that I had, or even the clothing, was Nike, and I associate that with my childhood. So call it brainwashing by Nike.
They marketed well. It worked, but that's how marketing works. And that's what they hope. They hope that you get a younger generation.
yeah,
to stick to
exactly.
And you know
something.
what?
That's like how you're giving your daughter Nick stuff.
Oh, so you trying to say I'm brainwashing my daughter?
I mean,
I'm just.
what's she
Yo,
want?
you know what? It's probably the worst thing I'm doing as a parent because I shouldn't do it because of the years of pain.
No, the worst thing you would be doing.
It's probably the worst thing I'm
that's
doing
pretty.
as a parent.
That's
It's pretty bad.
I was
know
gonna
it,
say
I know
maybe
it.
the Jets might be worse, but
We haven't really talked much. There's been many.
that's what I'm
Jets here
saying.
gone
That
on.
will probably be in the same, you know.
Yeah, it could be worse.
But Woody Johnson, James Dolan, you know what I mean.
Yeah, could be worse.
What about your tattoos?
For those who can't see, Nick has a lot of
Changing the
tattoos.
subject, but yeah, if you can't see, you're tatted up. Not a lot of journalists are. Not a lot of. Now that's become something that's, I guess, more accepted.
It's definitely become more accepted.
you know what I mean?
Just as society as a whole.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
That's great. That's a
society
great
as a
point.
whole. I feel like back then it wasn't really a thing. Like even people would say this about David Stern's, rules or whatever, dress codes or whatever, to try to hide tattoos and things like that. They had sleeved jerseys one time, in what people thought were to kind of hide them.
They airbrushed Iverson's tattoos off the cover of Hoop magazine. Remember?
Yeah, I remember that. I remember that.
Yeah, so they're more accepted now. You have them. So I guess, what are your thoughts on that? Just it becoming more accepted to have tattoos in whatever society now. And B, what's on you? Like, what's kind of written on your arms?
It's like everything.
It's directions home if I ever get lost. You catch the N train to Queensborough Plaza.
That's if you have too much to drink that night. Things happen. You gotta like, oh, gotta.
Damn, I'm at the wrong stop. You know, I just got like, I'm not one of those people that feels like everything on you has to mean something. I feel like if something's a dope piece of art, it's a dope piece of art. You know, a lot of the stuff does mean something. You know, I've lost count. I've definitely got way over 20 tattoos. So, you know, we won't have time to go into it all. But you know, I've got my mum's name, my sister's name, my grandfather's name.
Dope.
You know, I've got like something down here that just sort of means sound mind in a sound body, which you know, I believe in. You know,
See, you have some musical notes. on
yeah,
you too.
I'm a big music fan, all types of genres, hip hop.
Oh, that's
dance
what I wanted
music,
to get into.
everything. You know, so I'm a huge music.
Music is life.
Yeah, it is. You know,
I agree.
music is a soundtrack to your life. So,
Right. We have time, Matt. We have time. I want to get into some hip hop.
Yeah,
So-
and
so-
then we'll get to the MTA thing I want to talk about.
Oh, that's right. So real quickly on hip hop, you said that you grew up, you were listening at a young age. Who were some of the people you listened to back then? Who were some of the people you listen to now? Especially hip hop specifically, because as you can tell, you know, ain't hard to tell. we do.
We
talk-
kind of like hip hop.
It's all part of the culture, though, isn't
Yeah,
it? It's all
right.
part of the. It's all intertwined these days. So,
Covering basketball, you hear it a lot.
Yeah,
you know.
walk into an NBA locker room, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You're not
Good
hearing-
and bad.
Yeah, you're not hearing Keith Urban in there. You know,
No,
so,
no, you're not. You're not.
I had some older cousins. They were like 4 or 5 years older than me. So when I was about, I don't know, 8, 9 years old, I used to go to their house and I'd be like, they were listening to it. They were into that. The first,
So you caught the vibe.
the first hip hop records I ever listened to were straight out of Compton. It's like cliche, isn't it, for like somebody in my
But for
age?
people our age,
You know,
it's not. I can
like
hear that. Yeah.
straight out of Compton, Fear of a Black Planet, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it was Ice-T Power as
Ooh,
well.
that's
Yeah.
not one you hear from people a lot.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I even remember the first. So that was all on vinyl, and then obviously like
Nice.
the CDs came out. I remember the
Nice.
first hip hop album I bought on CD.
Oh, it is. I
And
wanna hear this.
it was Ice-T Original Gangster.
Original Gangster,
Yeah, and I
Ice-T.
still know the words to every single song.
Oh.
Don't not mess with
Ice-T
me.
Original Gangster,
Yeah.
the first one you bought.
Yeah.
Is that? I always like to ask people this question, but do you have a song?
Just for the people that are
Yeah.
listening, that are a little bit younger, Ice-T used to be a rapper before he was an actor. So
Right.
Yeah.
he's not just
like,
a,
oh, the guy from Law and Order.
yeah, he's not just a dude on Law and Order.
Coco.
Yeah. He used to be a rapper. So.
Yeah, and was pretty gangster.
Yeah.
For those of y'all that don't know.
Yeah.
And now he plays a
Was that the album that got you to fall in love with hip hop? Would you say that, or was it something else? You know?
You know what? I'm going to say yes.
Huh?
I'm going
Okay.
to say yes because and to this day I still listen. I actually had it on my phone like about a
Just
month
bumping
ago.
into
just
that,
bumping,
okay.
You know, that was like the first album, and from there I started listening to more Public Enemy, and then you start, you know, you start reading
Branching
about it,
out.
so you start branching out.
Yeah.
And I got to be honest, like even as much as I love New York, and I was influenced by New York hip hop. I was listening to a lot more West Coast.
You a lot of
back
West
then.
Coast, a lot more West Coast hip hop.
You know, I was listening to a lot more West Coast. Like obviously, Doggy Style was one of the first albums I bought as well.
It's a
you know,
classic.
Yeah.
hilarious
yeah.
cover.
Great cover. One of the great album artists in hip hop of all
Yeah.
time. Definitely.
Yeah.
All right, good. Who are you listening to now? No, Brian had brought that up. Who are you listening to now? Oh, you still just bumping Ice-T?
You know what? I never
hard.
wanted to be one of those dudes that was like.
It happens as you get older.
And that's how I know that
It
I'm
happens
old.
a little bit.
That's how I know that I'm old.
This is why you gotta listen to Freddie Gibbs.
But I have listened to Freddie Gibbs. I just think he's okay. Don't listen to Freddie Gibbs.
That's a lot. Yo.
I've listened to
Okay,
Freddie
now.
Wait, he said he's listening to
I've
Freddie
listened to
Gibbs.
Freddie. I like to try and listen to dudes that, you know, like if I like to listen to
Look
lyrical
at
dudes.
Brian. Look at Brian.
I want to hear what it's
But I just couldn't get into it. It's not something that I could go back and listen to. Like,
Ooh.
if you want to ask me who my five favorite rappers of all time
now
are,
I'm curious.
Yeah, let's go. We've asked a few people this. Who your favorite?
I also want to know what you've heard from him.
I
that
can't
matters.
remember the name of the mixtape. It was a mixtape that came out. I can't
It
remember.
was probably an older mixtape.
Yeah, it was
okay.
a few years ago.
It probably wasn't Pinata.
No.
You have to listen to Pinata. That's all I'm gonna say.
You don't have
shut
to.
up, shut up,
You don't
you
have
shut
to.
up.
But you just brought up a great point. You said your 5 favorite rappers. If you have one, have them a list.
I can give you, let's go bang, bang, bang in
All right,
right now.
let's do it.
Jay-Z's number 1.
Okay.
I think he's the GOAT.
Okay.
Number 2 is Biggie.
I'm fine with that.
Okay.
Number 3, and this one throws a lot of people off.
This sounds like your list.
I don't necessarily think he's the third best rapper of all time. He's just my third.
This is your favorite 5.
I'm a Fab fan, man.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm a Fab. I like Fab.
Shout out to Friday on Elm Street.
Well, this is a-
Oh, with Jada.
okay.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very good. We like it. We
Yeah.
both have liked that project.
Yeah, I hate that future feature, but yeah.
Yeah, we both like the project. Fab number 3.
Yeah.
It's a Brooklyn heavy list.
Yes.
so far.
Yes, top 3 from
You can see my
Top 3
influences
from
right
Brooklyn.
there.
Right.
Pusha T, number 4.
Pusha number 4.
Yeah.
I like
He's another person that is supposedly has an album on the way.
On the way.
So
Well,
hopefully.
I want to hear that
Fingers
one.
crossed.
And
man.
number 5.
Jeezy.
You put JT at 1 and 5?
Jeezy.
Oh, Jeezy. Sorry.
Jeezy.
I-
The accent.
No, the accent. The accent. messed me up. I was like,
So
damn.
that's why you asked me about the Freddie Gibbs Jeezy
Yeah.
thing earlier. I like both Freddie Gibbs and Jeezy, but you know, Freddie Gibbs.
That's
is better.
that's interesting. Who do you? A lot of rappers you just mentioned were established, but who do you like that's maybe come out today, last 5 years?
Oh,
or-
Jeezy's album's coming out. by the way.
Anybody that's really grabbed your ear? That you're like, wow, we
I
like.
like the 444 album.
So you like that?
Yeah.
It's-
Any newer artists?
Jay-Z's album's coming.
no
Jeezy's
comment.
album's coming out.
Wow.
No new
Kendrick
artists?
Lamar, J. Cole.
I think that kid can rap. His music's not music that I can listen to over. Same with J. Cole. I think they're incredible rappers.
I
but
love
their
both of
music
them.
is not music that I can listen to over and there's no play for me.
There's no replay value for you.
Yeah.
You know, all the younger people that are listening to this are like, yo, Nick.
And that's why I feel like.
Because you know that's their go-to thing. That's what they do.
I didn't want to be that dude that's stuck in an era. You know what I mean? But I just
that's
feel
what
like,
I don't want to be, but I feel like.
I think we associate the best music with the music you came up listening to.
Yeah.
It happens to everybody. I think you don't think when you're younger that it'll be like that, but you always will. And there's that sound you love, and that's what you love, and you do evolve a little bit out of that.
Yeah.
But I think you listen to everything, and I don't like to say that because everything that came out in the early '90s is not the greatest thing
Yeah,
ever.
of course.
I
There
try
was
not to
trash
say
back
that.
then,
There was
too.
trash
Yeah.
then too.
Yeah.
There's like just trash now. I just think there's a little bit more of it now.
Yeah.
But that's a whole other thing. Before we go, you told me about something. You obviously live here in New York and New York City, and you told me about something you don't like that happens on the MTA. I have a lot of annoyances when people do a lot of things. What don't you like?
it wasn't even actually me. I saw a girl on Twitter tweet something about how she thinks it's annoying when people come onto the train for once, like they take a seat for one stop and get off. And I retweeted it and I quote tweeted it or something like that. And I just said, it's the most annoying thing when they rush onto the train and take that seat from somebody that wants to sit down and then proceed to get off.
Yo,
the
it's
next
so
one.
rude.
I think that's so disrespectful.
Right.
Yeah,
I was gonna
that's so
ask.
disrespectful.
I was gonna ask, what if the seat's there?
If it's an empty train
Yeah.
or
Because I've done that, but only if the seat's there.
sit down.
You know,
but if it's
oh.
a packed train and you
Don't
rush,
sit down for one stop.
Don't sit down
Nah.
for one
No,
stop, man.
but you know what? This just made me think of another pet peeve that I have. So on my way to, where was it? The Nets practice facility to go to the Jaleel Okafor thing, right? There was this dude. I was taking a train, and somebody got off. He was standing in front. Somebody got off, and he didn't take the seat. Nothing. He just stood there. Like
Yeah.
he just stood there.
Like he was guarding the.
Yeah, like he was guarding the area, and like, somebody was trying to get around and take the seat, whatever, after like a couple stops. But that bothers me because it's like you're kind of giving off the impression, even if you mean it, you don't mean it, that I'm just gonna, just stand here. Why don't you sit down, or why don't
Or
you
just
get
go
out the
someplace.
way?
Yeah, go someplace.
Like,
else. Just go to the door, do something else. Yeah, I don't like that person.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people I don't like on trains, but I don't like that person.
give me.
You don't like that person.
Shout out to New York City. That's
Yeah.
all New York City.
There's so many pet peeves on the subway we get into.
That could be a whole
like
other
the people
show.
that, Could I say that? I don't even know if I can say that one. We can end the podcast.
We'll be back next week to talk the MTA and the New York City subways.
Yeah, I mean, and the MTA probably won't
Is
like
Showtime a dying art?
Is Showtime
Yes.
on the subway?
Yes. Is it dying?
I'm going to say this before we leave. I saw a video that Bomani Jones tweeted out either a day ago
Shout
or
out to
something.
Bomani Jones.
And it was these two people. I still don't understand it. They were on the subway, not with many clothes on, and they're holding on to the railings at the top. And it was a girl and a guy. The guy is wearing
Wait, the
nothing
girl
but
had no
like a
clothes on
Speedo.
too?
The girl had on like a sports bra and some shorts. But the guy had on nothing and just a speed up.
They're working out?
No, I can't explain this. They were both,
We gotta go
you know when you were young and you would go across the monkey bars? They were doing that on the top of the train towards each other. Almost like that old American Gladiator thing where you used to have to meet people in the middle and try to take them down.
They're playing American Ninja Warrior.
So they're doing this, and as they're going across and they meet, the girl just stops and she gets mad. And she starts pushing the guy, shoving him, and pushes him down. And he fell down hard because you heard the shot. And everybody in the train is like, oh. Then you just hear this guy out of nowhere. He's like, hey, yo, man, that's what you get. That's what you get.
And that's why I love New York.
And she was like, yeah, that's what you get. You know this is my train on Thursdays. And the video just cut off. And I was like, yo, what is going on? So what I'm going to say is Showtime isn't dead. It just comes in many different forms. And you have to appreciate how it comes. But, because that's some crazy nonsense that I saw on the train. As I always say, and I know it's become the word that I say all the time, it's absolutely ridiculous. that I'll say. On that note, another great episode of Ain't Hard to Tell Podcast. We want to thank our guest, Nick Metallinos. You can follow him on Twitter, even though he is not the biggest lover of social media.
At times.
But he uses it for you. You want the information. You want to know what's going on with Ben Simmons. You don't want to know what's going on with all the
Don't come at me with
Australian.
warp numbers, though.
Yeah, don't come to him with that. But if you want to see somebody do some great coverage on some international basketball, especially the Australian players, please check him out. Nick, thank you for coming and chilling with us.
Thank you for having me. I can honestly say this is the best podcast I've ever done.
Hey, man.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised you said that. I'm just saying, I'm glad
This
that
is
you
the
said it.
Jay-Z of podcasts for me.
No,
Hey.
I love that. It ain't hard to tell who's the best podcast, right?
There you go.
Yeah, once we get a drop machine, we're going to make sure that that's on it.
Yeah,
get on that.
absolutely. We're on it. We thank you for coming, hanging out with us. We hope you come back. Hopefully we're able to talk to you maybe either whether it's next summer or something about some new Australian players coming in.
Or even sooner.
Or sooner. Or we can do it sooner. You can give Matt an update on Dante Exum and let him know what's going on with him. Because he wants to know. He's a big Jazz fan.
Yeah.
So he wants to know. But we hope to have you back, man.
Absolutely.
I'd love to be back.
All right, man. Thanks for coming. That's it. It's a wrap for episode 13. For Brian Fonseca, Nick Metallinos, I'm Dexter Henry. We'll be back next time on the Ain't Hard to Tell podcast.